Coca-Cola Vault.
Coca-Cola is a carbonated soft drink. It is a sweet, dark brown beverage flavored with vanilla, cinnamon, citrus oils, and other natural essences. But more than that, it has become a global symbol of American culture, refreshment, and consistency. The drink was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in the late 19th century. A pharmacist named John Stith Pemberton created the original formula in 1886. He was trying to make a patent medicine, a tonic that could cure headaches and fatigue. He mixed caramel-colored syrup with carbonated water, sampled it, and declared it excellent. His bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, suggested the name Coca-Cola and wrote it in the flowing script that is still used today. The formula has remained a trade secret for over 130 years. It has never been patented, because a patent would force the company to publish the ingredients. Instead, it is kept as a closely guarded commercial secret, locked away and known to almost no one. Only 2 people in the entire world know the complete formula for Coca-Cola at any given time. The company does not want the risk of a single person carrying all that knowledge. If that one person were to leave the company, or be coerced, or simply make a mistake, the secret could be lost or stolen. So the formula is split into 2 halves. One executive knows the first part, and a different executive knows the second part. They are not chemists or lab technicians. They are senior leaders who have signed binding legal agreements and undergone extensive background checks. Neither one can ever enter the production area without the other present. They also have one other very unusual rule. They are not allowed to travel together. No shared flights, no shared taxis, no shared trains. The company does not want a single accident or disaster to wipe out both halves of the formula at the same time. If both keepers were in a plane crash, the secret would not be dead, because the formula is also written down and stored in a vault. But the human knowledge would be lost, causing a delay and a crisis of confidence. So they travel separately. They live separate lives. They do not even discuss the formula with each other except when absolutely necessary to authorize a new batch of concentrate. This level of paranoia is rare in the business world, but for Coca-Cola, it is perfectly normal. That brings us to the vault. The most famous and forbidden part of this story is the vault that holds the written formula. It is not a bank vault you can visit on a tour. It is located inside the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, but the actual vault room is sealed off from the public. Behind a heavy door with multiple locks, cameras, and biometric scanners, the formula is stored in a steel repository that weighs several tons. Security guards monitor the room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The vault is designed to resist fire, flood, explosions, and even electromagnetic pulses. No one goes inside alone. No one goes inside without authorization from the very top of the company, including the CEO. Why is it so forbidden? The simple answer is money. The Coca-Cola formula is estimated to be worth billions of dollars. If the recipe were leaked, competitors could try to copy the exact taste. Even if they could not replicate it perfectly, they could study the formula and create something too similar, eroding Coca-Cola's uniqueness. The company has spent over a century building a brand around the idea that this particular taste cannot be found anywhere else. The vault enforces that idea. It turns the formula into a legend. People want to believe there is a sacred document locked away, protected like a crown jewel. That belief drives loyalty and curiosity. So what would happen if you tried to enter the vault? Let us be honest. You cannot just walk up to it. The museum floor has barriers, alarms, and plainclothes security. If you somehow bypass those and reach the inner door, you would trigger an immediate lockdown. The company has not publicly stated that they would kill an intruder. That is almost certainly an exaggeration. But you would be detained, arrested, and prosecuted for criminal trespass, possibly with federal charges if they argued you were attempting to steal trade secrets. That can lead to years in prison and millions in fines. So no, you will not be shot on sight, but your life as you know it would be over, and the company would make an example of you to discourage anyone else. Area 51. The official name is Homey Airport, but the world knows it as Area 51. It is a remote detachment of Edwards Air Force Base, and its primary purpose has always been to test experimental aircraft and weapons systems. You will not find it on most public maps, yet its location is actually well known. Area 51 sits in the southern portion of Nevada, about 83 miles north-northwest of Las Vegas. The nearest town is Rachel, a small unincorporated community that has turned the base's mystery into a tourist attraction. The facility lies on the dry lake bed of Groom Lake, surrounded by miles of flat desert and jagged mountains. The United States government did not publicly acknowledge the base until 2013, but it was created in the mid-1950s under President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The Central Intelligence Agency, along with the Air Force, chose this site to develop the Lockheed U-2 spy plane. The man who made Area 51 a reality was Richard Bissell, a CIA officer, and the legendary aircraft designer Kelly Johnson, who led the Skunk Works team. They needed a place so secret and so remote that no one would accidentally witness the most advanced aviation technology of the Cold War. Why is it so forbidden? The simple answer is that Area 51 is not a museum or a public landmark. It is an active military testing facility. The land around it is government property, and the airspace above it is restricted in ways that almost no other place in America is. You will see red warning signs on the perimeter fences, and those signs are not suggestions. They state that deadly force is authorized against anyone who enters without permission. This is not a bluff. The guards who patrol the perimeter are not ordinary security personnel. They are often contractors from companies like Amentum or former Special Operations Forces. They drive white unmarked vehicles with heavy-duty suspension and no license plates. They monitor the border with motion sensors, cameras, and even buried seismic detectors. The reason for this extreme level of secrecy is not aliens, at least not based on any public evidence. The real reason is that Area 51 has been the birthplace of every major leap in American spy planes and stealth technology. The U-2, the State Route 71 Blackbird, the F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter, and the B-2 Spirit bomber all have roots in the tests conducted at Groom Lake. If an enemy nation knew exactly how these aircraft worked while they were still being developed, the United States would lose its technological edge. So the government decided that keeping people out by any means necessary was a matter of national security. Are we going to be killed for entering? The honest answer is yes, under certain conditions. If you simply wander past a warning sign without realizing where you are, you will likely be detained first. The perimeter is marked clearly, and the guards typically give verbal warnings through loudspeakers. But if you ignore those warnings, drive through a gate, or attempt to breach the inner fence, the rules of engagement change. The legal basis is that Area 51 is a controlled access area under the authority of the United States Air Force and the Department of Defense. Trespassing on a military installation during peacetime can lead to arrest and prison time. However, if the base is in a heightened security status, or if a trespasser is perceived as a threat carrying weapons or explosives, guards are authorized to use lethal force. This has never been publicly tested because most people who try to get in are stopped long before they reach the inner perimeter. The famous Area 51 raid in 2019, organized as a joke on social media, resulted in a music festival and very few actual attempts to enter. No one was killed. But the warning signs are real, and the government has made it clear that the base's secrets are worth protecting with bullets. North Sentinel Island. North Sentinel Island is a forested patch of land in the Bay of Bengal, part of the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago, which belongs to India. To look at it from above, it seems like any other tropical island: dense jungle, white sand beaches, and clear blue water. But in reality, it is one of the most isolated and dangerous places on Earth. The island is home to the Sentinelese people, an indigenous tribe that has lived there for an estimated 60,000 years. They are direct descendants of the first humans who migrated out of Africa, and they have remained completely untouched by modern civilization. As for who found the island, there is no single discoverer in the usual sense. The first recorded sighting by outsiders was in 1771 by a British surveyor named John Ritchie, and later in 1867, a shipwrecked Indian merchant vessel named the Nineveh brought more attention to the island. But the Sentinelese themselves have always known they were there. They did not need to be discovered. From their perspective, the outside world simply does not exist. This brings us to why North Sentinel Island is so forbidden. The Indian government, recognizing the danger to both outsiders and the tribe, has declared a 3-mile exclusion zone around the island. Going inside is illegal, but the law is not the only reason it is forbidden. The deeper reason is moral. If you enter, you are not just risking your own life, you are risking the entire tribe's existence. The Sentinelese have no immunity to common diseases like the flu or the common cold. One careless visitor could wipe out 90% of the population. So the ban is there to protect them from us. As for whether we would be killed for entering, the answer is almost certainly yes. In 2006, 2 fishermen drifted onto the island by accident, and their bodies were found buried on the beach, killed by Sentinelese arrows. In 2018, a young American missionary named John Chow paid fishermen to take him close, then paddled a kayak to the shore. He shouted phrases like, "I love you," and "Jesus loves you." The Sentinelese shot arrows at him, and when he returned a second day, they killed him. So yes, they will kill you. Not because they are monsters, but because they see any outsider as a threat to their home. Snake Island. Snake Island, or Ilha da Queimada Grande as it is officially called, sits about 90 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo in Brazil. On a map, it looks like just another speck of green in the Atlantic Ocean, unremarkable and small, only about 43 hectares in total area. But this island holds a title that no other place on Earth can claim. It is considered the most dangerous island in the world because of what lives there. The name, Snake Island, is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It is home to an astonishing density of venomous snakes, specifically the golden lance-head pit viper, a species that exists nowhere else on the planet. To give you a sense of scale, researchers estimate that there is roughly 1 snake per square meter in the island's forested areas, and in some patches, that number climbs even higher. Walking through the undergrowth means stepping within striking distance of a creature whose venom can melt human flesh around the bite, and cause kidney failure, brain hemorrhage, and internal bleeding within hours. Why is it so forbidden? The Brazilian government has made it illegal for any private citizen to set foot on Snake Island. Only authorized researchers with special permits, and even then with a mandatory doctor present, are allowed to visit. The reasons are both practical and ethical. Practically, the golden lancehead's venom is so potent that a bite could kill a healthy adult before a helicopter could arrive from the mainland. The island has no medical facilities, no cell phone reception, and the nearest hospital is more than an hour away by boat, followed by another hour by road. Even if you survive the initial bite, the chances of getting antivenom in time are near zero. Ethically, the ban protects the snakes themselves. The golden lancehead is critically endangered, with only an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 individuals left in the wild. Their entire existence depends on that single island. Human intrusion would not only risk deaths but also introduce foreign bacteria, trample nests, and disrupt the fragile ecosystem that keeps the species alive. The Brazilian Navy periodically patrols the waters to ensure no unauthorized boats approach, and pirates or smugglers who have tried to capture snakes for the illegal pet trade have faced severe legal penalties, including prison time. Are we going to be killed for entering? That depends on what you mean by killed. If you step onto Snake Island without training, protective gear, or antivenom, you are not facing an execution squad. You are facing nature. The golden lancehead is not aggressive in the way a cornered dog is. It is an ambush predator that lies perfectly still on branches, camouflaged against the bark, waiting for a bird to land within range. If you walk through the forest, you will not see most of them until it is too late. A single misstep or a hand placed on a tree trunk can trigger a lightning-fast strike. The venom yield from one adult golden lancehead is enough to kill 5 men. There is no official antivenom specifically for the golden lancehead produced in large quantities because the demand is almost non-existent since no one is supposed to go there. A few research labs have small experimental stocks, but you cannot buy a vial at any pharmacy. So yes, entering the island without permission is effectively a death sentence, not by law, but by biology. Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Far beneath the permafrost on a remote archipelago between mainland Norway and the North Pole lies a structure that looks like the beginning of a science fiction movie. This is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, carved into the side of a sandstone mountain on the island of Spitsbergen. It is not a bank for gold or oil, but for seeds. More than 1 million seed samples from nearly every country on Earth are stored here, representing thousands of crop varieties. The vault acts as a backup drive for the entire planet's food supply. The idea came from the Nordic Genetic Resource Center, but the real force behind its creation was the Norwegian government, which funded and built the vault in partnership with the Global Crop Diversity Trust. The government of Norway officially owns the facility, while the trust oversees its governance and the deposit agreements with gene banks worldwide. The vault opened its doors in 2008, but the concept had been discussed for decades, especially after the devastation of the Syrian war, which showed how easily a country's unique seeds could be lost. Now, why is this vault so forbidden to the public? Unlike a museum or a research station, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault is built on operational security and extreme environmental isolation. The entrance is a concrete portal jutting out of a mountain, lit by art installations, but beyond that door is a long tunnel drilled 120 meters into the rock. At the end of the tunnel are two airtight chambers kept at a constant -18 degrees Celsius. This temperature slows the seeds' metabolic rate so they can last for centuries, or even millennia. The air inside is deliberately dry, and the permafrost surrounding the vault ensures that even if the cooling system fails, temperatures will not rise above freezing for many decades. But the main reason ordinary people cannot go inside is contamination. Every human carries microbes, fungal spores, and skin cells. Even one visitor could inadvertently introduce mold or bacteria that might spread through the seed boxes. The seeds are stored in sealed aluminum and mylar packages, but the vault is not sterile. Workers wear special suits and go through cleaning protocols. The risk of a single person shedding a pathogen that could eventually compromise a vital seed sample is considered too high. There is also the matter of logistics. The vault is not designed for tours. There are no viewing galleries, no climate-controlled walkways for visitors, and no staff on site except for periodic inspections. The seeds are arranged on metal shelving units inside a space the size of a basketball court. Opening the inner doors multiple times a year just for curiosity would defeat the purpose of long-term preservation. Would you be killed for entering? No. The vault is not a military installation, and no armed guards shoot trespassers, but breaking in is nearly impossible. The outer door is locked, and the surrounding area is monitored by the Norwegian government's satellite surveillance and local law enforcement from Longyearbyen, the nearest town about 1 kilometer away. If someone forced the outer door, they would face a 100-meter tunnel with a slight upward slope, designed to drain water away. At the end, they would encounter a second steel door. Inside, the temperature is well below freezing. Without proper clothing, hypothermia would set in within minutes. Even if someone reached the seed chambers, they would find nothing of street value. Seeds are priceless for biodiversity but worthless for theft. The real punishment would come afterward. Breaking into a protected international facility in Svalbard carries heavy fines and possible imprisonment. But no one has ever tried because there is no motive. Qin Shi Huang Tomb. Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor of a unified China, a ruler who conquered 6 warring states in 221 BC and declared himself the first emperor of the Qin dynasty. He came from the state of Qin, located in what is now the Gansu and Shaanxi provinces, a region that was once considered a frontier land, far from the sophisticated Central Plains. His background is that of a royal prince, but one born into ambition. His father, King Zhuangxiang, and his grandfather, King Zhaoxiang, had already started the work of expanding Qin's power. Qin Shi Huang, originally named Yingjing, took that expansion to its bloody, brilliant conclusion. His tomb was not created by one person but by an enormous workforce, over 700,000 conscripted laborers, prisoners, and slaves, supervised by his chancellor, Li Si, and the general Zhang Han. They began construction as soon as Ying became king of Qin at just 13 years old, and it continued for nearly 4 decades, long after his death during a tour of eastern China in 210 BCE. In the past, anyone who tried to enter the tomb paid a grim price. The records of the grand historian mention that after the fall of the Qin dynasty, a rebel army dug into the tomb and reportedly set off a trap that shot arrows and released poisonous gases. Later, tomb robbers in the centuries that followed were said to have died from sudden illnesses, suffocated, or simply vanished. The most famous incident is from the Three Kingdoms period, when a warlord named Xiang Yu attempted to open the main burial mound with hundreds of soldiers. According to legend, he was driven back by a phantom army and strange mechanical crossbows that fired automatically. Whether legend or truth, the tomb remained unopened. Why is it so forbidden to enter the real tomb today? It is not a matter of a curse or magic, though many local people still believe in that. The reasons are scientific, practical, and ethical. First, the tomb is massive. It sits under a 50-meter-high artificial hill, and ground-penetrating radar has shown an underground palace the size of a city block, surrounded by a 4-meter-thick wall of compacted earth and gravel. Inside, Sima Qian wrote that rivers of mercury were used to model the Yellow River and the Yangtze, with the ceiling decorated as stars and the floor as the earth. Modern geophysical surveys have detected extremely high concentrations of mercury in the soil above the tomb, up to 100 times the normal background level. If we were to break in, we would almost certainly be poisoned by mercury vapor. That is the literal answer to, will we be killed for entering? Not by an ancient curse, but by toxic metal, unstable air shafts, and mechanical traps that may still be functional. The Chinese government has forbidden any excavation because current technology cannot protect the contents from collapse or corrosion. Paint on lacquerware, silk, and even the emperor's own body would disintegrate within minutes of exposure to oxygen.